Welcome to Managing Nebraska's Public Roads and Streets, Planning and Reporting, 1 and 6 Year Plans, Rule and Regulation, Title 428, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 3. This video focuses on how to complete the 2 summary forms required for 1 and 6 year plan submittals from counties and municipalities to the NBCS. This is the 9th topic in a series of videos, the purpose of which is to summarize Nebraska's management of public roads and streets as directed by state law and also by rule and regulation. The target audience is county highway and city street superintendents and those aspiring to attain those positions. Elected officials and anyone interested in the management of the state's public roads and streets are also encouraged to view this. Before watching this video, it is important to view and understand the information presented in the following videos. Introduction to Nebraska's Highways, Roads, and Streets, the Big Picture. Classification and Standards, a series of 10 videos. It would be helpful to watch all of them with the possible exception of the video on the Americans with Disabilities Act. Also watch the video 1 and 6 Year Plans and Overview. There are 5 parts to the report to be submitted to the Board of Public Roads. A resolution of adoption by a quorum of the governing body. The resolution must include the date that the public hearing was held, the date the resolution was adopted, and written signatures of the proper officials. The 1 and 6 year plan forms including a report of previous year highway or street improvement. This is on an NBCS form and will be discussed later in this video. And the 1 and 6 year plan and its 3 elements. The list of works and projects, the functional classification maps, and the individual project forms. A copy of the affidavit of publication of legal notice from the printer. A signed statement that the notice of public hearing was posted in at least 3 places likely to attract attention. The statement shall include the name of the person or persons who posted the notice and the dates of posting. A statement of changes that were made as a result of the public hearing. If there were several changes, it may be best to submit a copy of the 1 and 6 year plan as originally proposed by the governing body, along with the statement of changes. There must be a statement of changes even if there were none due to the public hearing. State none and sign it if that is the case. Or in the resolution of adoption, state that there were no changes as a result of the public hearing. This screen shows a sample resolution of adoption by the governing body of a county 1 and 6 year plan. This is a model resolution of adoption of a 1 and 6 year plan. Formal adoption of the 1 and 6 year plan by the governing body occurs after the public hearing. This is 1 page of a report of previous year highway or street improvement report submitted to the Board of Public Roads. It was done on Form 11, which will be superseded after rulemaking. This screen shows the proposed report of previous year highway, road, or street improvement form. As of yet, this is an interim form preferred by the NBCS, but is non-mandatory until a rulemaking process and approvals. This is 1 page of a Form 8 summary of 1 year plan. The NBCS proposes to combine this with Form 9, which is shown on the next screen. This is 1 page of a Form 9 submittal to the Board of Public Roads. It is a summary of the 6 year plan. The board proposes to combine this with Form 8 and have 1 form instead of 2. This is the proposed form which combines current Forms 8 and 9 into a summary of 1 and 6 year plan form. 1 year plan projects are designated by checking the box in the second column. The title, Summary of 1 and 6 year plan, indicates that it looks to the future compared to the report of previous year highway, road, or street improvement form, which looks to the past. This screen shows a submittal of a map showing both 1 year plan projects and those projects in years 2 through 6. The NBCS proposes that both the state functional classification map and the national functional classification map be submitted showing planned projects. The current 1 and 6 year plan highway or street improvement project form, designated as Form 7 from the regulation currently in effect, 428 NAC 3, is shown on the screen. The NBCS proposes to replace it with this form. The reason for changing the form is the adoption of new standards in 2016. The proposed form is consistent with those standards. Until the regulation goes through the rulemaking process and is approved, this is a non-mandatory form, as you can see at the bottom of the interim form. The NBCS prefers that you use the proposed form because parts of the form currently in the regulation do not fit the new standards. For example, the old design numbers such as RL2 or RC3 or ROA1 no longer exist. 3R standards are in place for the first time for county roads and municipal streets, and the standards tables have changed significantly. This proposed form and its instructions are covered in a separate video. The 3 proposed forms could change either before or during the rulemaking process. If they do change, you will be notified. After the rulemaking process, adoption by the NBCS, and approval by the Governor's Office, the forms will not change. This is an actual proof or affidavit of publication in a newspaper. It is issued by the newspaper and notarized. This screen shows a statement of public posting submitted by a county to the Board of Public Roads. This screen shows the actual notice of the public hearing that was posted in at least 3 places likely to draw attention. These are 2 statements submitted to the NBCS documenting that the 1 and 6 year plan public hearing resulted in no changes to the entity's proposed 1 and 6 year plan. If there are changes resulting from the public hearing, they must be detailed in the statement. In order to submit a complete report, state what was proposed and what changed. If need be, include the entire 1 and 6 year plan that was proposed at the public hearing along with the statement. Filling out the form is quick and easy. The real work is done before you start filling out the form. If you are unfamiliar with the form, look it over, scan it, to see what information will be needed. Then you need to plan what information needs to go on the form. The level of time and effort is a function of available and applicable facts, requirements, assumptions, projections, and estimates. Some will be based on your asset management inventory, on historical data, going out and getting the data, or making assumptions. The 6-year plan is the minimum required by state statute. Planning further out is a good idea to have projects ready to be added to the 6-year plan as 1-year plan projects are completed. Future funding is obviously important to estimate. Consider all revenue, local, state, and federal, and possibly other sources. It must be a reasonable estimate. This is not a wish list. The intent is to have a fiscally constrained set of works and projects. Review all assets in terms of condition, importance, public input, and safety problems. Coordinate projects with other scheduled improvements, such as utilities work, with adjacent agencies, and possibly the availability of resources in the proximity of the jurisdiction. When deciding on works and projects to include in the 1 and 6 year plan, the total cost of all of them must be no more than the estimate of available funding. Some projects may need to drop off the list. Title 428, Chapter 3 has instructions for completing the 1 and 6 year plan. It can be found online at either of the 2 web addresses shown on this screen. A hard copy can be obtained from the Nebraska Department of Roads Liaison Services section. Instructions for the proposed work project form can be found at the links on this slide. For the purpose of this video, these are the instructions that will be used and referenced. The following series of slides provides instructions for each entry on the Report of Previous Year Highway, Road, or Street Improvement form. All instructions for forms are in Section 8 of the proposed instruction manual. Within Section 8, instructions specific to this form are in subsection 3. Technically, this is called out as 428 NAC 3-008.03. An instruction, for example, could be 428 NAC 3-008.03A4, which is Title 428, Nebraska Administrative Code Chapter 3, Section 8, Subsection 3, Part A, Subpart 4. Instead of saying all that, this video will say Part A, Subpart 6, or simply A6. Section 8, Subsection 3 is on page 8 of the proposed instruction manual. There are a few instructions that apply to all 1 and 6 year plan forms, and therefore are not in Section 8, Subsection 3. Those will be called out in full. They are in 428 NAC 3, Section 8, Subsection 2 on page 7 of the proposed instruction manual. An example is the first entry on the form, the name of the political jurisdiction. That instruction is in Section 8, Subsection 2, Part A, and will be called out as such, so the reference is clear. One thing to keep in mind is that this is only a form. It is a tool for communicating to others what the work or project is all about and how much it will cost. The form requires certain information. For some projects, you may need to add explanation so that it will make sense to others. So always keep in mind that it is not just another form to fill out. It is to help the public understand the project and the program. At the top of the form, enter the name of the county or municipality according to Instruction 428 NAC 3008.02a on page 7, and the end date of the reporting period according to Instruction 428 NAC 3-008.02c on page 7. This example assumes the previous year period ends December 31st, 2017. Refer to Instruction A1 on page 8. List all works and projects that appear on the previous Summary of 1 and 6 Year Plan in the same order they were listed. Use the county or municipality sequential project number. This example assumes that there were 3 projects in the 1-year plan as submitted to the NBCS previously. Notice that the project numbers begin with the letter M as in Mike. According to Section 9 on page 30 of the proposed instructions, counties use the prefix C as in Charlie, municipalities use the prefix M as in Mike, so we know the reporting entity for the example is a municipality. Be sure to include new works and projects added by a revision of the 1-year plan throughout the year in consecutive order below the others. For example project M575, 9 in parentheses, let's say it is about a quarter-mile long, 3 to 4 blocks, costing $100,000. The project was contracted out, the work was completed October 15, the project was changed, a key item changed, say the surface type, and that is explained in the additional information column. Note that the length changed to the nearest tenth and that units of measure are in a drop-down box. If the unit of measure is other than miles, feet, or blocks, it can be entered directly. If, for example, the unit of measure is kilometers, you can enter km instead of using the drop-down box. For example project M575, 14 in parentheses, let's assume it is 2 blocks long, costing $20,000. Some of the work was done by a contractor and some was done by city forces, and the work was completed June 3rd. For example project M575, 22 in parentheses, a half-mile long with an estimated cost of $1.5 million. Let's say the city decided to delay it a year to do another less expensive project instead. Check the project delayed box. If the project was eliminated from the 1 and 6 year plan entirely, instead of checking project delayed, you would check project deleted from 1 and 6. The project that was added to the 1-year plan during the year must be included on the form right after all the others. All projects must be accounted for. Project M575, 23 in parentheses, was added. This required a notification of revision of 1-year plan, which had to be submitted to the NBCS right after the governing body made the decision and took action. It is a half-mile project that cost $750,000 and was completed November 22nd. Be sure to include any work that was done during the year by a project for miscellaneous work, which is defined by instruction 002.05 on page 2 of the proposed instructions. For the example, let's assume the city had a project for miscellaneous work consisting of paving districts. At the time the city filed its previous 1 and 6 year plan with the NBCS, they had several possible paving districts lined up, but didn't know which ones had to be done. So they lumped them together in a project of miscellaneous work on the 1 and 6 year plan. Assume one of the paving districts was constructed during the year. A revision of the 1-year plan was not required. See instruction 008.05C2A1 on page 16 of the proposed instructions. But it is required to report the work that was done on this form. The project is M575, 38 in parentheses, right after the others. Again, all projects must be accounted for. It is a 0.6 mile project that cost $1.25 million and was completed September 26. It is called the Smith Street Paving District. A map or maps showing locations of completed projects for miscellaneous work also must be included. If the municipality relinquished any funds to the county, there must be a statement on the form. If you use the spreadsheet, there is a worksheet called Special Notes that has a stock relinquishment note that you can modify, copy, and paste onto the form. For example, if the municipality relinquished 10% of its funds to the county, add the note to the form as shown on the screen. The appointed superintendent prints his or her name, signs, adds the title, and date. The date field has a formula embedded for the current date. Make sure the sheet numbering is correct, and the form is complete. This screen shows the completed form. The following series of slides provides instructions for each entry for the summary of 1 and 6 year plan form. All instructions for forms are in Section 8 of the proposed instruction manual. Subsection 4 covers the summary of 1 and 6 year plan form and begins on page 10 of the proposed instruction manual. This is only a form. It is a tool for summarizing to others the future plan of works and projects, where they are, what they are, and how much they cost. It is supplemented by more detailed information on the 1 and 6 year plan highway, road, or street improvement work project form, of which there is one for each project. These documents together give the public a picture of what your agency is planning. At the top of the form, enter the name of the county or municipality according to Instruction 428 NAC 3008.02a on page 7, and the end date of the reporting period according to Instruction 428 NAC 3-008.02c on page 7. This example assumes the planned 6-year period ends December 31st, 2023. Now populate the table. Refer to Instruction A on page 10. List all works and projects proposed for the 1 and 6 year plan. See Section 2 for a description of works and projects required to be included. Include works and projects from the previous year's submittal that were canceled. For those, enter the word canceled in the additional information column. All projects must be accounted for. This example assumes that there are 6 projects in the 6-year plan, 2 of which are in the 1-year plan. The video shows the first one being entered. The others will be entered offline and then shown. Notice that the project number begins with the letter C as in Charlie. According to Section 9 on page 30 of the proposed instructions, counties use the prefix C as in Charlie, municipalities use the prefix M as in Mike, so we know the reporting entity for the example is a county. Keep the location description very brief. The type of improvement consists of only the major scope of work items. There are common abbreviations used in the industry which are suggested in the instructions, and in the spreadsheet they are in a drop-down box. More than one can be selected. If the description is too long, it will word wrap. The project shown has grading, asphalt paving, and bridge replacement as the major components of work. This screen shows the form populated with this county's planned projects over the 6-year period, with 2 of them, the first and last, designated to be constructed in the first year of the plan. If you use the spreadsheet, notice in the estimated cost column that there is a built-in formula to automatically add the costs of all projects. At the bottom of the table, enter the available funding for the 6-year period and for the first year. See Instruction B5 on page 11. The appointed superintendent prints his or her name, signs, adds his or her title, and dates. The date field has a formula embedded for the current date. Make sure the sheet numbering is correct. The form is complete. If there were major changes from last year's report to this year's report, the county or municipality must summarize the reasons for those changes for the NBCS. This can be written on the form itself, if there is space available, or on a separate sheet. If no works or projects are included in the 1 and 6 year plan, either no work is planned or all planned work is maintenance, enter maintenance only on the form. If no works or projects are included in the one-year plan, either no work is planned or all planned work is maintenance for the first year, enter one-year plan consists of maintenance activities only. The following applies only to municipalities. If a village or city relinquishes some or all of its highway allocation funds to the county, on its summary of 1 and 6 year plan report, the municipality must indicate the amounts and years of any relinquishments. This can be written on the form itself if there is space available, or on a separate sheet. The following applies only to municipalities. If a village or city accumulates and invests some or all of its highway allocation funds, on its summary of 1 and 6 year plan report, the municipality must indicate the amounts involved and the projects the funds are being accumulated for. This can be written on the form itself if there is space available, or on a separate sheet. It is the intent of the Nebraska Board of Public Roads Classifications and Standards to require complete and reasonably accurate submittals of information on the forms that are provided. By complete, the board's intent is to include all works and projects as described in Section 2. By reasonably accurate, with respect to an individual work or project, the board's intent is to include the major elements of its scope of work and any smaller elements of the scope of work which help the general public form a reasonably complete picture of the location and anticipated physical extents, right-of-way impacts, type of work, environmental mitigation costs, and construction work time frame. A form cannot cover every possible situation. If additional space, beyond what is provided on the form, is needed to explain or clarify, attach a separate sheet or sheets. Be sure to include identifiers on each added sheet. See Instruction 8.1d on page 7 of the proposed instructions. It is good to have identification in case sheets get separated. Try to relate the additional information back to the form or the section of the form it's referring to. If copies are made, usually it is done one-sided, and if anything is written on the reverse side, it gets missed. So do not write on the reverse side of any sheet, including the form itself. This is an example of what an attached sheet could look like. This was the 9th topic in a series of videos, the purpose of which is to summarize Nebraska's management of public roads and streets as directed by state law and also by rule and regulation. The focus of this video was how to complete 2 of the 1 and 6 year plan forms required for counties and municipalities. Although the forms presented in this video are proposed forms, they are preferred by the NBCS, which anticipates taking them through the rulemaking process and making them official.